Don't write the attendance now. I will tell you the time when to give the attendance. Now all of you can give your attendance in the chat box. Shayan, again you have to give your attendance. I repeat, now all of you can give your attendance in the chat box. Okay, it is 3:15 p.m. I will not wait further. Give me a minute so that I can present my screen first. Can anyone confirm me whether my slides are visible or not?
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay, okay, fine. Okay, good afternoon to all of you. Before starting today's class, let me give you a brief recap of what we have did in the last class. If you remember, in the last class, we have started the topic called design of a mechanical component subjected to fluctuating load. We have defined what is a fluctuating load. What is a fluctuating load? Fluctuating load is that load which vary in magnitude with respect to time continuously. Fluctuating load induces fluctuating stresses in the component, and this fluctuating stress is responsible for fatigue failure of a mechanical component. We also studied about the different mathematical models for cyclic stress. What is cyclic stress? Cyclic stress is nothing but a part of fluctuating stress. There are different mathematical models of cyclic stresses. Those mathematical models are fluctuating or alternating stresses, repeated stress, and reversed stress. All these three things we have discussed in the previous class. What is the fluctuating stress? In fluctuating stress, the value of the stress or the magnitude of stress will fluctuate above and below the mean stress line. This is the formula of mean stress as well as amplitude stress. What is a repeated stress? In repeated stress, there is no minimum stress. Minimum stress is zero. So it is very much clear that this particular peak, this particular peak, it will exactly touch on the x-axis of this time. What is a reversed stress? In reversed stress, there is no mean stress. Sigma m is 0. If there is no mean stress, then sigma max will be equal to minus times of sigma minimum. Whatever is your maximum stress, that much value you will get in the minimum stress also. So, I think in the last class we have discussed till this topic. Yes or no? If anyone can respond.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In today's class, we will specifically talk about the fatigue failure of a mechanical component. If you remember in the last class, I have given you an example of a wire. If you are having a wire and if you want to break that wire into two parts, you cannot break it by tension, neither you can break it in compression, neither you can break it by bending. But what you do, if you apply a cyclic load on that particular wire, how you will apply a cyclic load? For example, assume that this is that wire. Assume that this is that wire. Fine. You want that the wire should break from this point. So what you have to do, you have to apply a moment. If you apply a moment like this, If you apply a moment like this above the central point, then the beam will, then this wire will try to bend like this. Similarly, on this same wire, if you apply moment like this at this end, if you apply moment like this at the other end above this particular point, the wire will try to bend like this. So in this case, if you see this particular point, this particular middle point is, it is the most critical point. It is the most critical point. From this point only the wire will get break. And these bending moment, this is not a constant bending moment, this is a fluctuating bending moment. Magnitude of this bending moment is varying continuously. Say that varying bending moment is from 40 newton meter to 140 newton meter. Sometimes the bending moment is 40 newton meter in clockwise direction. Sometimes the bending moment is 60 newton meter in clockwise direction. Sometimes the bending moment is 130 newton meter in anti-clockwise direction. So what will happen? Continuously you have what will happen, you will, it means you are increasing and decreasing the amplitude of the stress, because due to this bending moment bending stress will be generated. So basically what you are doing, you are changing the amplitude of the bending stress with respect to time, and this will result in fatigue failure. Is it clear? Is the experiment clear? Any doubt?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So we can define define fatigue failure as, fatigue failure is defined as time delayed fracture under cyclic loading. If you apply a cyclic load is nothing but a part of fluctuating load on any particular body, then the body will fail. It will take some time to fail due to cyclic load. When the body is failing, that type of failure is known as fatigue failure. So it is known as a time delayed fracture under cyclic loading. Is it clear? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, if you remember, say, if I am having a ductile material, if I want to find out the strength, maximum possible strength of that ductile material, I know that if the strength, or if maximum possible strength of the ductile material is what? That is nothing but the yield strength
Each spin.
or the yield point. After the yield point, ductile material fails. Similarly, for brittle material, maximum possible strength is ultimate strength or the ultimate point. Similarly, when a component is subjected to fatigue failure due to cyclic loading or due to fluctuating load, it will fail at some point. It will fail at some stress value. That particular stress value, that particular point is known as endurance limit, is known as endurance limit or endurance limit point or endurance limit stress value. For example, if you are having a ductile material, you want to fail that ductile material in tension, maximum possible strength present in that material to fail is yield strength. Similarly, in fatigue, again, fatigue is what? Fatigue is also a type of failure, but in this kind of failure, fluctuating load or fluctuating stresses occurs. So definitely there will be some maximum possible value of that fluctuating stress beyond which whatever stress value you apply, the material will fail. That particular stress value is known as the endurance limit or the fatigue limit in the material due to fatigue failure. Is it clear? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Fine. Okay, so and this particular endurance limit value is very less than that of the ultimate tensile strength or the yield strength of the material. Material normally fails under fluctuating stresses at a stress magnitude which is nothing but the endurance limit, and that endurance limit is lesser than that of ultimate and tensile strength of the material. That means, by this line, what I mean by this line, I understood that fatigue failure will take less time. Means if a component is subjected to fatigue failure, it will take very less time to fail, because the endurance limit value is lesser than the ultimate and the yield strength value. But if you want to fail ductile and brittle material, other when that material is subjected to static load, then it will take some time to fail. Is it clear? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us move forward. Now, the best example of fatigue failure of any mechanical component is bending and unbending of wire. See, here you are bending the wire in opposite direction. If you apply moment, you will unbend the wire. As a result of which, the fatigue, there will be a crack. Slowly, a crack will generate in this AB region, and the wire will be separated into two small pieces from this AB region. Other examples of fatigue failure are transmission shafts, connecting rods, gears, suspension springs, and ball bearings. All these mechanical component fails due to fatigue failure. Why? Because when these components are in operating conditions, on that component never a static load acts. Always a fluctuating load acts or cyclic load acts when these mechanical elements are in working condition. So always remember these shafts, gears, springs, ball bearings, if it is connected to some machine member, and if that machine member is in working condition, then failure of these individual mechanical component will take place through fatigue. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, fatigue failure, how fatigue failure takes place? Fatigue failure normally takes place with a crack, with the presence of crack in the material. That means, if this is your material, on this material, if you are applying a fluctuating load or cyclic load, definitely every material or every component in the nature is not perfect. It is having some imperfections. If you see it clearly by microscope, if you see the internal structures, if you will find that a crack is present always. So fatigue failure normally takes place from that particular crack point. Say a crack is over here, a crack is over here, or a crack is over here. From that particular crack point, the fatigue failure of the mechanical component will take place. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, how a crack normally occurs? So far we have understood that fatigue failure begins with a crack present in the structure. Now, how or what are the different sources of the cracks? Cracks normally occurs in the region of discontinuities, where there is an abrupt change in the cross-sectional area, such as keyways, such as keyways, oil holes, screw threads present in the component, regions of irregularities in machining operations. While machining operation, when the machining operation is carrying when the machining operation is occurring, then there are some irregularities. If any particular, say, a person is doing that machining operations, definitely there will be some irregularities. Such irregularities are scratches on the surface, inspection mark, etc. So from those particular point, the crack will propagate, and ultimately the fatigue failure of the component will take place. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And Fatigue failure also occurs due to the presence of internal cracks present in the materials due to defect in the materials like blowholes. I think this you might have studied in casting blowholes. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Due to these blowholes, these are what? These are the internal cracks. You cannot see it from your naked eyes, but if you use microscope, then you will be able to see. So these are the three basic regions from where the crack can initiate, and the initiation region of the crack results in fatigue failure of the component. Is it clear? Any doubt so far?
No, sir.
Okay. Now there are two particular regions of fatigue failure. What are those two particular regions? First region is fatigue failure in any mechanical component starts with a slow growth of crack. If you take the example of this wire, fine, can you tell me in this particular wire where from which point the crack will initiate?
From A.
Yes, from that particular point A, the crack will initiate. So from point A, when the crack is initiating, so in fatigue failure, what we do? We vary the amplitude of the load. Fine. So can you tell me whether the crack will propagate much more faster from A to B, or the crack will propagate very less? Crack will propagate much faster, or crack will propagate slowly?
Sir, I think faster.
Yes, due to increase or decrease of amplitudes of load, the crack will be propagating fast. It may be slow, it may be faster, depend upon the magnitude of the amplitude of load, whatever you are applying. Fine. So the very first step is what? Region. There will be a region in the mechanical component which indicates the slow growth of crack. That means point A. Now from point A to point B, slowly the crack can propagate, fastly the crack can propagate. This slowly and fastly will depend upon the amplitude of the load or amplitude of the bending moment, whatever you are applying. So the second step is the region of sudden failure. Now, what is the region of sudden failure? Definitely when the crack will propagate slowly from point A to point B. At this point B, when fully the crack has been propagated, definitely there will be a sudden failure of the mechanical component. That means this particular wire will get divided into two parts. One part is this one, another part is this one. This is the region of sudden failure when the crack has propagated completely within the material. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Any doubt so far? Other people, please respond if you are having any kind of doubt or not.
No, sir. Clear.
Okay. So remember one thing, if you want to fail any particular mechanical component due to fatigue, what are the basic conditions which you should keep in mind? The first basic condition is that component should be subjected to fluctuating load or fluctuating stresses or cyclic load or cyclic stresses. Likewise, ductile material, orbital material, the maximum possible strength of ductile material is what? Yield strength. Maximum possible strength of brittle material is what? Ultimate strength. Similarly, when you are failing any particular mechanical component subject with fatigue, there will be some maximum strength present in the material. That maximum strength in the material, which is present in the material due to fatigue, is the endurance limit of the material. After the endurance limit or after the endurance point, the material or the component will get failed due to fatigue. One more thing which you should keep in mind in fatigue failure starts with initiation of crack. That crack can slowly as well as it can propagate very fastly. Fine. Once the crack has propagated completely within the material, there will be a sudden failure of the material. Clear? Any doubts so far?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Okay, fine. Let us move forward. Next is endurance limit or fatigue limit. What are these things? It is same. If you consider the ductile material, maximum strength is your yield strength. If you consider the brittle material, maximum strength induced in the brittle material is ultimate strength.
Sir,
Likewise,
the point from where the crack will develop and it will fail.
yes, means see the point in the component where the from the point from where the crack is propagating, that particular point is nothing but your endurance limit point of the material. Clear? So how we can define this endurance limit or fatigue limit? See, if you want to define, say I am having a pen, I need to fail my pen by fatigue, then as a designer you should know what is the life of the pen, because normally we define fatigue failure in terms of life, whether the pen is in active condition for 1 day, whether my pen is in active condition for 2 days, or the pen is in active condition for 3 days. If a pen is in active condition for 3 days, by this line, what I mean that the pen, I can use this pen only for 3 days. If I use the pen for the fourth day, either the leakage of the refill will take place or the pen will get crack. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, if you want to say define fatigue life of a shaft, you have to define in terms of cycles. That means how many cycles that shaft was in working condition before the appearance of first fatigue crack in that shaft during working condition. Did you got my point?
Sir, will you
Yes,
repeat
sir.
for?
Okay, again I am repeating. Now, if I say I am considering a shaft, now if I want to, I am interested in finding out the fatigue life of shaft. Fatigue life of shaft means what? Shaft can run, that shaft can run for 1 year, that shaft can run for 6 months, that shaft can run for 1 day. This is what? This is nothing but the life of the shaft. But if we are talking about fatigue, the life of any mechanical component is described in terms of cycles. Why we are telling in terms of cycles? Because fatigue means every time you have to apply a fluctuating load, and that fluctuating load is cyclic in nature. So that means I can say that shaft shaft has rotated 10 times in a day. Shaft has rotated 10 times in a day before the appearance of first fatigue crack. That means that shaft is having a life of 10 days. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, a shaft is or a shaft is undergoing 1,000 cycles. A shaft is undergoing 1,000 cycles before the appearance of the first fatigue crack. That means that shaft is having a life of 1,000 cycles before fatigue failure. Now is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Fine. So now I can define endurance limit or fatigue limit as the fatigue or endurance limit of a material is defined as the maximum amplitude of completely reversed stress. Reversed stress we have just now seen. In reversed stress, there is no mean stress. whatever value you are having in the maximum stress, that same value you will have in the negative direction for minimum stress. Fine. So the fatigue or endurance limit of a material is defined as the maximum amplitude of completely reversed stress that the standard specimen can sustain for an unlimited number of cycles without fatigue failure. And that unlimited number of cycles is nothing but 10 to the power 6 cycles. By experiments, it has been found out that for any mechanical component, if that mechanical component you want to fail by fatigue, unlimited number of cycles is nothing but 10 to the power 6 cycles. So before 10 to the power 6 cycles, it is written the fatigue or endurance limit of a material is defined as the maximum amplitude of completely reversed stress, sigma max or sigma minimum. Now, this sigma max can be a bending stress, it can be a tensile stress, it can be a compressive stress, it can be a torsional shear stress. But the maximum stress that any material can sustain before fatigue failure. When the fatigue failure will take place? When number of cycles in that particular mechanical component becomes 10 to the power 6 cycles. Now is it clear? Endurance limit or fatigue limit?
Yes, sir.
That means if a component ha- if a component has been rotated for 10 to the power 6 cycles, that means that component has achieved the maximum fatigue limit. After 10 to the power 6 cycles, you cannot use that component in your use. You have to change the component. Fine. So this is the endurance limit or fatigue limit. There is one term called fatigue life. What is fatigue life? Fatigue life is defined as the number of stress cycles. This is the stress cycles, 10 to the power 6 cycles. Number of stress cycles that the standard specimen can complete during the test before the appearance of first fatigue crack. That means before the appearance of first fatigue crack, if a component has been rotated for 50 times, that means that 50 times is the fatigue life of that particular component. Or if that same component is rotated for 95 cycles before the first appearance of the fatigue crack, that means that 95 cycles is what? It is nothing but the fatigue life of the component. Is it clear? Any doubts so
Yes, sir.
far? Other people, please respond whether any doubt is there or not.
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So now there is a procedure to find out the value of this endurance limit, and this phenomena you have did in your third semester applied mechanics lab. Can you recall that experiment?
Sir, which one?
Fatigue testing machine.
Sir, it was not done.
Oh, you haven't did it. See, this is means we can find out this value of endurance limit. This endurance limit can be find out practically by one experiment. That experiment is known as rotating beam fatigue testing machine, and this experiment was first discovered by the scientist called R.R. Murray. R.R. Murray. R.R. Murray. Murray. So that's why this particular experiment is also known as R.R. Murray rotating beam fatigue testing machine. It is a method by which you can find out the endurance limit of a material. Is it clear? Any doubt so
Yes, sir.
far?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. Why I am calling the name of this experiment as rotating beam. Why rotating beam is written over here? Can you tell me? Why rotating beam is written over here? Any idea? Rotating, this is the specimen. If you see in this diagram, this is your standard specimen. This specimen is mounted on two jaws. This is one jaw, this is another jaw. Now this specimen is continuously rotating, and for in order to find out the value of endurance limit or fatigue life for any particular component, you have to rotate the component, you have to apply a cyclic stress in the component. So that's why this name of this experiment is rotating beam fatigue testing machine, because this component is all the time rotating in nature. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And this rotation of this specimen is done by the help of this electric motor try to rotate this specimen continuously. What will happen? I have told you that how we can find out the fatigue life of any component by measuring the number of cycles. That means if the specimen has turned one revolution, that means 360 degree. One revolution is what? One cycle, that means 360 degree. Two cycles, that means 360 into 2, 720 degree. Three cycles, that means 720 plus 360, and so on. Yes or no? Hello?
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
Fine. That those cycles is counted, or those cycles are counted on this device. This device is known as revolution counter. In this revolution counter, you can record the number of cycles that this specimen has undergone before the appearance of the first fatigue crack, which is connected with electric motor. Is it clear? Any doubts so far? Any doubts so far?
No, sir.
Fine. Now, see, I have told you in the very I have told you in the beginning of the class that in order to undergo or in order to fail any particular component by fatigue failure, you have to apply a fluctuating stress. You have to apply a cyclic stress. Since this component is rotating continuously, how it can rotate? If I apply end moments like this, if you see the diagram, can you see the right hand diagram, topmost diagram, right hand?
Yes, sir.
This is nothing but your that same specimen. Fine. If I apply bending moment about the middle point, then this component will be rotating in nature continuously. Fine. So that means what is happening? It is completely rotating due to the presence of a stress, and that stress is what? That stress is nothing but bending stress. So the magnitude of that particular stress can be found out by the bending equation, that is sigma into y by I. Fine. And the specimen, there is a standard dimensions for this particular specimen. You cannot choose any particular dimension, and that standard dimension is, you can see the length of the specimen should be 85 mm. In that specimen you have cut a fillet. Fine. That radius of the fillet is 250 mm, and the dia of the specimen will be 7.5 mm. Is it clear? This is the standard specimen for fatigue test.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So how we are getting that endurance limit value? Let us look into the procedure. See, it is written over here. The dimensions of the standard test specimen, which is in mm, is shown in the figure. This is the dimensions of the standard test specimen. The specimen is carefully machined and polished. This particular specimen you have to polish and machine carefully. In the laboratory, endurance limit is determined by means of a rotating beam machine developed by R.R. Murray. Since this particular specimen is completely rotating in nature, and it was discovered by the scientist called R.R. Murray, so it is known as rotating beam R.R. Murray fatigue testing machine. The principle of rotating beam is illustrated in the third figure. That means this particular figure. Can you see this circle? Hello?
Yes, sir.
This is the principle of this experiment. Now, what is this circle? I will make you understand. See, it is written over here. A beam of circular cross-section is subjected to bending moment MB. This is nothing but a beam which has been subjected to bending moment MB. Under the action of bending moment, what will happen? Tensile stresses are induced. Now, if you remember in strength of materials that if any component is subjected to bending, say this is your cantilever beam, fine, due to a transverse load, the beam bend like this. Fine. If you want to see the bending stress distribution, how the stress distribution is all about, it is like this. This is the distribution at the middle layer of the beam. Stress is zero. Above the middle layer, tensile stress is there, and at the topmost layer, the tensile stress value is maximum. Similarly, below the neutral axis, compressive stress is there, and at the bottommost surface of the beam, compressive stress is minimum and is equal to sigma t. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Fine. So it is written that under the action of bending moment, tensile stresses are induced in the upper half and compressive stresses in the lower half, and both the values are same. Then only, then only the stress, bending stress which you have applied, it will be a reversed bending stress. Because for reversed bending stress, whatever sigma t should be equal to sigma c, because there is no mean stress. If there is no mean stress line above the x-axis, whatever peak is there, that same peak you will get in below the x-axis. And there is zero stress at all fibers in the central horizontal plane. See, in this particular central horizontal plane, shear stress is zero. Is it clear? Sorry, bending stress is zero. Any doubt?
No, sir.
Fine. Okay. Now let us consider a point A on the surface of the beam. Let us consider any point A on the surface of the beam. Say this is that point. This is that point A. Fine. This point is point A. Clear? Now, and let us try to find out the stresses at this point when the shaft is rotated through one revolution. When this entire shaft is rotated through one revolution, what is the state of stress at this particular point A that I am interested in? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Because if we do not rotate the specimen, we will not get the fatigue life. We will not get the endurance limit value. So if we have rotated the specimen for one complete revolution for 360-degree, what is the state of stress value at this upper surface of the beam? I am interested in that particular point. Fine. So see, initially, initially this point A, initially this point A coincides with A1 in the central horizontal plane with zero stress. That means when this beam is not in working condition, that means when this beam is neither is not running. At that point, there will be no stress involved. Yes or no? If there is no stress involved, this particular point A will have zero bending stress. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Fine. If the bending stress is zero, assume that this is that particular point A. Fine. So this is your stress line. Assume this x-axis is your stress. X-axis is your stress line, and y-axis is your stress line. So this is your point A. Stress will be zero. Fine. Now, if you rotate the specimen for 90 degree, this point A will come over here. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
This
Yes.
point A will come over here. Now, if you see at this particular point, the tensile stress is maximum. At this particular point, A2, tensile stress is maximum. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Again, if you rotate the specimen for next 90 degree, this point A will come over here at this particular point A3, and this position is nothing but position A3. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Position is
sir.
A3. So again, if you see at this A3, at this point A3, stress is how much? Stress is zero. This
Yes,
is
sir.
the stress. Stress is zero. Again, if you rotate for 90 degree, that means overall so far it is 270 degree. Again, if you rotate for 90 degree, the same point A will come at this particular point. Yes or no? Yes or
Yes,
no?
sir.
At
Yes, sir.
this particular point is what? This is nothing but A4, and at A4, if we check again, stress is maximum but in negative direction, minus sigma c. Yes or no? Yes or
Yes,
no?
sir.
Yes,
Again,
sir.
if you rotate the specimen for next 90 degree, then one cycle is completed. Again, if you rotate the specimen for next 90 degree, one cycle is completed, that is 360 degree. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And that particular point A will be nothing but the original state of point A from where we have started. Yes or no? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Again, if I see the diagram at this particular point, stress is zero. At this particular point, stress is zero. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
That means what is happening after, see, at when theta is 90 degree and when theta is 270 degree, when theta is 90 degree, maximum stress you are getting, and when theta is 270 degree, minimum stress you are getting, and sigma max is equal to minus times of sigma mean. So if you do it continuously, because you don't know when this specimen will fail, this specimen can get fail after 2 cycles, after 3 cycles, after 4 cycles. If you will do this process continuously, so there will be a variation in the amplitude of stress. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
If there is a variation in the amplitude of stress, if you plot a graph between rotation of this specimen in x-axis as theta and value of sigma along y-axis, when theta is 0, stress is 0. See, stress is 0. When theta is 90, stress is maximum. See, stress is maximum. When theta is 180, again stress is 0. This is that particular point, stress is 0. When theta is 270 degree, again stress is minimum equal to sigma t. This particular point. Again, when theta is 360 degree, that means this particular point, again stress is 0. So if you join these particular points, it will follow a sinusoidal pattern of curve. Any doubt?
No, sir.
Fine.
No, sir.
So now what you will do is you have to plot a graph between, in x-axis there is, this graph is plotted in log paper. In x-axis there is, okay, let me erase everything. Yes, in x-axis, oh, I'll see you in this diagram. See, in x-axis there is a number of cycles. In y-axis stress amplitude. In y-axis stress amplitude, and the graph is plotted in log paper. Log base 10 of n, log base 10 of SF. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Assume that in this particular assume that in this particular experiment, after say 100 cycles, first fatigue crack is observed. Say the first fatigue crack is observed at this point. Clear? Any doubt?
No, sir.
First fatigue crack is observed at this point. Then you have what you are doing, you are drawing a log graph. Log 10n, log base 10 SF. Then log base 10 of n is how much? N is how much? N is 100 cycles. So log base 10 of 100 will be some value. 10 will be 1. Log base 10 of 100 will be 1. So at particular point, at this point 1, what is the value of amplitude stress that you will find out? Then you will take the log base 10 of that amplitude stress, you will get 1 point. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, now you have understood that you got the first fatigue crack. Now your material will fail when the crack will propagate from this end till this end. Fine. So at each and every interval of time, fine, say when the number of cycles is say 200 cycles, then the crack, say when number of cycles, that means when you have rotated this specimen for 200 times, now the crack has become like this. Somewhat it has been increased. Again, for n equal to 2000 number of cycles, what is the value of SF? Amplitude stress, you will take log base 10 n, you will take log base 10 SF. Again in this diagram you can get that value. Say this is that second point. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Similarly, if you do this process till 10 to the power 6 cycles, similarly, if you do this process for 10 to the power 6 cycles, that means how much? 10 to the power 6 is how much? 10 lakh. 10 lakh cycles.
Yes, sir.
That means
10 lakh.
if you rotate this particular specimen 10 lakh times continuously, then what will happen? You will get one particular stress value. You will get one particular stress value. Fine. From that particular point, how much number of cycles you increase? Say 10 crore cycles if you are applying, there will be no change in the value of stress amplitude. See, from this particular point, the graph is parallel to x-axis. So this particular point, which point? This particular point, fine, along y-axis, this is the length. This length is how much? This length is log base 10 SE. This particular point is called the endurance limit point or fatigue limit point. That means after that point, how much number of cycles you apply to the material, there will be no further increment in the crack. That means your material has failed by fatigue. This particular point is called the endurance limit point. Fine. So value of endurance limit stress will be what? Will be this. If you measure this length, log base 10 SE equal to something. So your SE will be anti-log of that something value. So that particular stress value will be the endurance limit stress value. Is it clear? This is the process by which I can find out the value of endurance limit for a specimen subjected to fatigue in laboratory. Any doubt?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Fine. And this graph, the graph, this graph between log base 10 n and log base 10 sf. That means this graph is known as SN diagram. This graph is known as SN diagram. S is your stress amplitude, N is the number of cycles to failure. In short, we can call it as SN diagram or Whole diagram. WHOLER. SN diagram or Whole diagram. What is this diagram? This is a graphical representation of stress amplitude, graphical representation of stress amplitude SF versus number of cycles N on a log failure graph paper before fatigue failure. That means before fatigue failure, this is the region, this is the line, yes or no? That means this particular region, this
Yes.
particular region, this is the region before the fatigue failure. This particular point is the endurance limit. From this point, whatever number of cycles you run the specimen for, 10 crore cycles, 10 million cycles, there will be no increment in the crack in that particular specimen. That means your material has been failed by fatigue. So this particular diagram is known as SN diagram or Whole diagram. What is this diagram? It is a graphical representation of number of cycles to failure with stress amplitude on a log paper before the fatigue failure of any particular mechanical component. And remember, this graph is plotted on log base 10 paper, not on log base E paper. While solving problems, remember this thing: if you solve the problem by taking log base E, everything will be wrong. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So this
Yes.
is the rotate RR Murray rotating beam fatigue testing machine. By this particular It is by this particular rotating beam fatigue testing machine, which was developed by the scientist called R.R. Murray. You can find out easily the endurance limit of any particular mechanical component subjected to fatigue. And this is your SN diagram, which is plotted on a log paper. Along x-axis, there is number of cycles to failure. Along a y-axis, there is stress amplitude. And that log paper is on log base 10 paper. Clear? Any doubt so far?
No, sir.
Fine. Okay. Now what? See, this endurance limit, whatever we have found out from this rotating beam fatigue testing machine, it is not a property of material. If you see in ductile material and in brittle material, yield strength and ultimate strength are what? Those are properties of material. Fine. But endurance limit is not the property of material. It is affected by several factors such as size of the component, how big or how small your component is, surface finish, what is the surface finish of the component, temperature while building that means while making that component, what was the surrounding temperature, notch, if any notch is present in the particular component, how sensitive that material is with that notch. So these are the different factors on which endurance limit depends. It is not a property of the material. Okay. Endurance limit will be affected by these factors. Clear? Any doubt so far? Hello?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
So I don't think enough time is left. So with this, I end my today's lecture over here. I will again continue in the next class from after this topic. Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So if anybody is left to give your his or her attendance, you can give your attendance in the chat box. Or if you are having any kind of doubt in today's class, I am here for 1 more minute. You can ask me, or else you can leave the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. Welcome.